Hi, and welcome to Historical Influence. Here, we explore amazing stories of people and events that shaped our history. Join us to learn, discover, and get inspired by the past in a fun and engaging way. Charles Robert Darwin, 1809 to 1882, was an English naturalist, geologist, and biologist, widely recognized for his contributions to evolutionary biology. His central proposition that all species of life have descended from a common ancestor is now generally accepted and considered a fundamental scientific concept. In a joint presentation with Alfred Russel Wallace, Darwin introduced his theory that this branching pattern of evolution resulted from a process he termed natural selection. In this process, the struggle for existence acts similarly to the artificial selection involved in selective breeding. Darwin has been described as one of the most influential figures in human history, honored by burial in Westminster Abbey. Darwin was born on February 12, 1809, in Shrewsbury, Shropshire. His father, Robert Darwin, was a wealthy doctor and financier. Darwin's early interest in nature led him to neglect his medical education at the University of Edinburgh, which he attended starting in October 1825. He found the lectures dull and surgery distressing. Instead, he assisted Robert Edmund Grant in investigating marine invertebrates. He also learned taxidermy from John Edmonstone, a freed Black Briton. Due to his neglect of medical studies, his father sent him to Christ's College, Cambridge in January 1828 to study for a Bachelor of Arts degree, with the goal of becoming an Anglican country parson. His studies at Christ's College encouraged his passion for natural science, particularly beetle collecting. In his final examination in January 1831, Darwin performed well, coming 10th out of 178 candidates for the ordinary degree. The 5-year survey voyage on HMS Beagle, which began on December 27, 1831, truly established Darwin as an eminent geologist. The ship's mission was to chart the coastline of South America. Darwin, sailing as a self-funded gentleman naturalist, spent most of the time on land investigating geology and collecting natural history specimens. His observations supported Charles Lyell's concept of gradual geological change. During the voyage, Darwin discovered fossil bones of huge extinct mammals, such as Megatherium and Toxodon, which were related to living species in South America. He experienced an earthquake in Chile and theorized that oceanic islands sink as land rises, leading to the formation of coral atolls. His most critical observations, such as the mockingbirds varying from island to island in the Galapagos, led him to suspect that such facts undermine the stability of species. Publication of his journal from the voyage made Darwin famous as a popular author. After returning to England in October 1836, Darwin learned from the ornithologist John Gould that the Galapagos birds he collected were actually 12 distinct species of finches. By mid-July 1837, Darwin began his Bee Notebook on transmutation of species. In October 1838, reading Thomas Malthus's An Essay on the Principle of Population, which asserted that unchecked human population doubles in 25 years, leading to a struggle for existence, was a key inspiration. Darwin realized that this struggle for existence would cause favorable variations to be preserved and unfavorable ones destroyed, resulting in the formation of new species. He later termed this concept natural selection. In 1858, while Darwin was still writing his extended work, he received an essay from Alfred Russel Wallace describing the identical idea. This prompted the immediate joint presentation of their theories to the Linnean Society of London on July 1, 1858. Darwin's religious views evolved over time. Though baptized Anglican, his family background was largely Unitarian. While at Cambridge, he did not doubt the literal truth of the Bible. However, his faith began to dwindle, particularly after the devastating death of his daughter Annie in 1851. He struggled with the philosophical problem of evil, deodacy, questioning how a benevolent creator could design suffering, such as the ichneumon wasp paralyzing live food. Transmutation of species was initially controversial and considered anathema by Anglicans supporting social order. By 1879, Darwin described his state of mind as agnostic, stating he had never been an atheist, but generally thought agnosticism was the most correct description of his views. Darwin published his theory with compelling evidence in On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection in 1859. The book proved unexpectedly popular, with the entire initial stock of 1,250 copies oversubscribed when it went on sale on November 22, 1859. In the book, Darwin presented one long argument supported by detailed observations. His theory summarized that since more individuals are born than can survive, the struggle for existence ensures that any being with a slight, profitable variation will have a better chance of surviving and thus be naturally selected, which will then propagate through inheritance. While he avoided explicit discussion of human origins, he hinted at the significance of his work, stating, "Light will be thrown on the origin of man and his history." He included evidence of homologies, shared bone patterns, between humans and other mammals. The publication generated international interest and controversy. The Church of England offered mixed responses. While some tutors dismissed the ideas, liberal clergymen like Charles Kingsley saw natural selection as a noble conception of deity, acting through natural laws. The most famous confrontation was the 1860 Oxford evolution debate, where Bishop Samuel Wilberforce argued against the theory and Thomas Henry Huxley championed Darwin's work. By the 1870s, the scientific community and most educated public accepted evolution as a fact. However, many initially favored competing explanations, and natural selection was not fully accepted as the basic mechanism until the modern evolutionary synthesis from the 1930s to the 1950s. Darwin was awarded Britain's highest scientific honor, the Royal Society's Copley Medal, in 1864. Darwin married his first cousin, Emma Wedgwood, in 1839. They had 10 children, 7 of whom survived to adulthood. Darwin was a devoted and uncommonly attentive father. Throughout his adult life, he suffered repeated bouts of chronic illness, including stomach pains, headaches, vomiting, and heart symptoms, especially during times of stress. The cause of his illness remains unknown. Socially, Darwin was a Whig reformer and passionately opposed to slavery. His close interactions with people like his taxidermy teacher, the freed slave John Edmonstone, reinforced his belief that all races of man shared the same essential humanity and mental capabilities. He strongly opposed the ill treatment of native peoples and argued against ranking the so-called races of man as distinct species. Despite years of illness, Darwin continued intensive research. His later works expanded on evolution, including The Descent of Man and Selection in Relation to Sex, 1871, which examined human evolution, demonstrated the continuity of human mental and physical attributes with animals, and detailed sexual selection. The Expression of the Emotions in Man and Animals, 1872, which discussed the evolution of human psychology. A series of innovative books on botany, including Fertilization of Orchids, 1862, insectivorous plants, and the power of movement in plants. His final book, The Formation of Vegetable Mold Through the Actions of Worms, 1881, examined earthworms and their effect on soil. Darwin's scientific discovery is recognized as the unifying theory of the life sciences, explaining the diversity of life. Darwin died down house on April 19, 1882. His final published conclusion in On the Origin of Species reflects the magnitude of his discovery. There is grandeur in this view of life with its several powers, having been originally breathed into a few forms or into one, and that, whilst this planet has gone cycling on according to the fixed law of gravity, from so simple a beginning, endless forms most beautiful and most wonderful have been and are being evolved. At the request of his colleagues, he was buried in Westminster Abbey, adjacent to John Herschel and Isaac Newton. Scientific discoveries, including the modern evolutionary synthesis incorporating Mendelian genetics, have since confirmed and validated Darwin's key insights. Alfred Russel Wallace stated that Darwin wrought a greater revolution in human thought within a quarter of a century than any man of our time.
Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that shaped our world.